Is Saturday a get-right game for the Iowa Hawkeyes following a loss to Iowa State in the annual Cy-Hawk Series? And a home loss at that, the Hawkeyes trying to get that passing game going. And to me, that's the big thing to watch this week. We'll talk about Iowa and Troy in just a moment. Before we get to the content for today and my preview for the Troy game, I want to thank Iowa Floor Covering, Tyler, Brian, and Ryan down at IFC in Bondurant, serving you across the state of Iowa. If you have any flooring questions, just give them a call, 515-379-7000, 515-379-7000. Also, Under the Kitchen down in Mitchellville. That's Randy Engel, awesome artist who does Hawkeye prints, original Hawkeye prints, signed Hawkeye prints in partnership with a number of Iowa athletes. Check out his stuff. Visit underthekitchen.square.site, or you can visit his page on Facebook. Search Under the Kitchen on Facebook. The Hawkeyes in Troy. Troy has been a really good G5 program, but they are rebuilding. Kirk Ferentz talked about that on Tuesday. New coach, new staff, new players, and they are hovering right around top 100 in total offense, total defense. They struggled to run the ball week 2 against Memphis, got beaten handily, actually lost week 1 to a team in Nevada that's projected to finish dead last in the Mountain West Conference. They did run the ball pretty well. Their offense actually looked decent in that game, but they lost to Nevada at home. This should be a game in which Iowa rolls. And here's the deal. Not many people, certainly I didn't think Iowa would run the ball as well against Iowa State as they did and lose. I actually had Iowa winning by 2 scores, and I thought Iowa was going to be able to run the ball well, which they did. And that may not seem like some bold prediction, but when does Iowa ever run the ball well against Power 4 opponents? They did on Saturday and lost. It was the perfect storm for Iowa State, or I should say for Iowa. Iowa got caught up in the eye of the storm, so to speak. You had the big pass plays given up in the second half. You had, the poorly executed red zone offense in the first half. And then, of course, some game mismanagement. If you missed my show with Mark Rogers, the Voice of College Football, Tuesday afternoon over on his Iowa Football at the Voice of College Football channel, check that out. We went through every big example of mismanagement from my viewpoint. We talked about that Tuesday on the show, so certainly check that out. So I think Iowa's going to be able to run the ball against Troy. That's what I'm coming around to. They did it against Iowa State. They ran the ball effectively second half against Illinois State. Now, here's the key, folks. Can they put together good offense for 4 quarters? And if they can't do that against Troy, I have no reason to think or have belief that they're any closer to doing so. Now, I said preseason that I thought it was going to take about a month for Iowa to get their feet under them and start throwing the ball effectively. And the hope was that they'd be able to run the ball consistently weeks 1 through 4. So far, so good. They have given up a couple of big defensive plays, and then the pass offense in the second half Saturday was so bad. So Cade McNamara's got to play better. Do we see Brendan Sullivan? I know a lot of people are looking at Saturday's game as the opportunity, and it may be the last real opportunity for Iowa to see him in some garbage time. I'd like to see him earlier than garbage time. Based on everything I was told during fall camp, he performed well enough to deserve some time. And the fact that he didn't play against Illinois State, to me, was an indicator that we're probably not going to see him unless Cade goes down with an injury. That may end up proving to be a mistake. Cade was really bad through the last 3 quarters of Saturday's game. He was bad in the first half against Illinois State. And I think we overestimated what he did in the second half against Illinois State. He's manifested some poor footwork. He's underthrown a lot of receivers. He's not seeing safeties off. I do think this week is an opportunity for him to get right, more than the team, but for Cade McNamara to get right. But I would still like to see Brendan Sullivan. Be nice to see some younger receivers get involved. Where's Jarrett Bowie? Where's Dayton Howard? Can Seth Anderson be back? It doesn't sound like he is going to play Saturday. Caleb Brown's second game back. He really didn't get involved Saturday. May have had a touchdown had Cade McNamara hit him on target on a go route. That was another underthrow from Cade that resulted in a pass breakup. So I'm kind of rambling here. The bottom line is Iowa's just got to throw the ball better through 4 quarters on Saturday. Luke Lachey's got to get the ball better. No catches for him during the Iowa State game, and no other tight end had more than 1 catch. That's ridiculous. Not for this university, and especially against an Iowa State defense that was down their top 3 linebackers. You would have thought Iowa would be able to take advantage, but I give them credit. They responded well. McNamara's got to get right, but let's hope Iowa utilizes something different than we've seen from a Kirk Ferentz quarterback philosophy that stretches back into the early years. I know 2001 has been brought up during the McCann-Banks era, where Banks spelled sometime and Kirk has kind of deferred back to Banks' distinct skill set. And I think Brendan Sullivan, from his mobility, and then also Marco Lainez's ability, those guys certainly have a skill set different than Cade McNamara's, but Kirk just sticks with his guy more often than not. A couple exceptions in there. Jake Christensen, that transition to Stanzi, and then, of course, Rudock to Beathard, but it's usually quite a pull there. So not saying they got to pull the plug on Cade McNamara, but this game against Troy is an opportunity for not only him to get on track, but hopefully for Iowa to test the waters as to what they have in Sullivan behind Cade McNamara. And again, some of those young receivers, if they can get involved, would be really, really positive. Maybe we'll see Jazz Patterson. We spoke with Liddell Betts on Wednesday morning during a Zoom press conference, and Betts, first of all, raved about Caleb Johnson, and rightfully so. He's been the number one guy without question here through the first couple of weeks. But it sounds like Jazz Patterson, there was a reported suspension involving Jazz week 1. Sounds like he's also recovering from an injury, so maybe we see him go. But boy, Caleb Johnson certainly is in high demand right now for a lot of offenses. He's top 10 nationally in yards per game as of right now through 2 weeks. So I don't think he's going to be giving up too many carries. There may not be enough to go around for just 3 guys, really, let alone 4. So Iowa versus Troy Saturday, 3 o'clock Central Time on FS1. And then join this show for Iowa Postgame with Coach John Patterson after. And then we'll have a second part of the show, part 2 of Iowa Postgame, Sunday night. Iowa-Troy, Saturday, 3 p.m. Central Time. Tune in live, FS1, and then live for the postgame show right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm.